To keep yourself updated, subscribe to Indigo Learn and click the bell icon and download our app OneFin to start learning on the go.
Okay, so let us take now the 13th one. That is about audit in automated environment. These questions which are straightforward, we are not going to go in detail of answering it. They are readily available, okay. So here list the points that an auditor should consider to obtain the understanding of the company's automated environment. So it's basically the IT structure, the internal controls there, the IT environment, the architecture, okay, all of that. So that's quite simple. Which are the specific risk to the company's internal control having IT environment? So here also the risk is going to be different when it comes to manual environment. Here you have like the unauthorized access, tampering of data. There could be, overriding of controls, okay, hacking of data. So there is going to be multiple other risks which are getting exposed to, which are not in the ordinary course of manual environment. Okay, so that also list is available. You can have a look at it. Then you have the audit sampling. Next topic. Explain the meaning of audit sampling as well as the relevant standards on auditing. State the requirement relating to audit sampling, audit design, sample size and selection of items for testing. Alright, so here basically the entire focus is on SA 530. So here what you mean by sampling, it is checking less than 100% of transaction. That is what you mean by audit sampling. Then sample design, obviously whatever is the objective, based on that we are going to design the sample. Sample size will depend upon the risk. Okay, the higher the sample size, the lower would be the sample risk. Okay, so depending upon the objective. Selection of the items for testing, select in such a manner that every item is getting an equal chance of getting selected. So that is what they are questioning. Then next one, the method is considered appropriate provided the population to be sampled consists of reasonable similar units and fall within the reasonable range. Similar unit and reasonable range. That is, it is suitable for homogeneous population having a similar range. Explain about the method. Simple understanding, they are talking about simple random sampling. Okay, so here we are using statistical techniques like random number table. Sometimes we have the applications readily available, computer, Excel sheets we could use. Then we have today mobile apps which are generators of the random numbers. So all of this could be used where every item is going to get equal chance of getting selected. It's going to be draw of lots, and then we are going to perform audit procedures on those samples, correct? So this is going to be suitable for the homogeneous transactions. Homogeneous are those which are having similar characteristic, like suppose you have only particular product or particular area only under consideration, or maybe the transactions are not having diversified amounts, like significant range is not there. Okay, so if they are in the same kind of range, then we consider them to be homogeneous, where we could use a statistical technique of simple random sampling. Okay, so where the samples are chosen in such a manner that we are going to use the random number tables, or we'll be using some kind of other techniques where randomly the items get selected in such a way that every item is getting equal chance of getting selected. A statistical technique, simple and also very reliable. Alright, then 8th chapter, your question is about the analytical procedures. Explain the aspect to be considered by an auditor while designing and performing substantive analytical procedure, either alone or in combination with test of details as substantive procedures in accordance with SA 330. So when you talk about SA 330, it is response to the assessed risk. So when you have identified the risk, when you are responding, there is going to be test of details. There is also going to be substantive analytical procedures. So when you are performing either only substantive analytical procedure or in combination with the others, what are the things that you keep in mind? First, you will see whether the particular information on that particular information which you are testing is analytical procedure suitable or not. Like it should be element of the financial statement which are predictable over a period of time. Then you will see whether information which you are going to use is reliable or not. Then you should develop an expectation range by the auditor. Then you check what has been available with the management, and then there should be a comparison done. That is the way in which the analytical procedures are performed. Okay, then discuss with examples the factors that are relevant while determining whether data is reliable for the purpose of designing substantive analytical procedures. So here it is about relevance. So that's quite simple. We take into account the source of the information. Okay, then we have comparability, because in substantive procedures, analytical procedures, what we do basically is comparison. So whether comparable information is available or not. So comparable. Then nature and relevance. Okay, like if you are checking budgets and all, they should be realistic, they should be relevant. Then controls over the particular data. Okay, so if the control is there, then you can use it, because if control has been there, then only the data is considered to be complete, accurate and valid. Okay, so you have to ensure whether what type of control is there over that particular data. Only then the data would be considered to be reliable and relevant for the purpose of using for substantive analytical procedures. Alright, then. The next topic taken here is audit of items of financial statements. So the 19th question, name the assertions for the following procedures. Quite simple. So we have year-end inventory verification. So obviously you are going to check what? Physical verification. So you are checking the assertion existence. Depreciation has been properly charged on all the assets. So valuation. Title deeds of the lands disclosed in the balance sheet are held in the name. So right and obligation. All the liabilities are properly recorded in the financial statements. So completeness. All are recorded, right? Then related party transactions are shown properly, presentation and disclosure. So these are all the assertions, quite simple. In exam I call this to be bonus. The concept of assertion, if you know, this is quite simple to write it. Okay, then 20th question. PK Private Limited based in Moradabad is engaged in export of brassware goods. The company has huge export receivables as on 31st March 2022. It is also analyzed from the export sales account of the company that large number of small shipments were also dispatched daily during the month of March 2022. List out few audit procedures you would adopt as an auditor to verify completeness assertions of the export trade receivables. So basically here it is about inventory. So your question has to be focused on cutoff. Okay, so that means which belongs to this year should be taken into account, which is not belonging to the year, okay, should not be taken into account. So there has to be proper analysis of the cutoff procedures to be done, so that only what belongs to this particular period is taken into account. Even if the particular item is received but it belongs to the next year, should be eliminated. Something which is still in shipment but it is belonging to the current period should be taken into account. So basically here it is inventory. So we are going to give due regard to the applying the cutoff procedure to understand whether whatever is taken into account is complete or not. So you could check the suggested answer for this here given, so that you understand how the cutoff procedures are to be applied here. Alright, then. Next is company audit. This RTP has very simple questions coming from the company audit. So quite, relaxing thing. Okay, so the 21st question. XYZ Limited is engaged in the business of shoes having geographical presence across India. Following details are available from the last audited financial statement of XYZ Limited for the financial year 2021. So they are giving you paid up capital, turnover, outstanding loan, liability on outstanding debentures as on 31st March. Okay. Comment on the applicability of the constitution of the audit committee for XYZ Limited for the financial year 21-22 based on the above information. So the entire question is based on the threshold limit given in section 177 about audit committee. Okay. So you just have to go through the threshold limit, see which of the limits has been fulfilled, and based on that is the applicability of formation of the committee in this company present or not present. Okay, so let us see what the applicability is. So if you look at it, it is first of all listed companies compulsory, correct? Second, public companies having paid up capital 10 crore or more. Then you have turnover 100 crore or more, and if that also is not fulfilled, then you check debentures, deposits, borrowings, etc. They should be 50 crore or more, correct? So now if you see aggregate of all this should cross 50 crore. So if you look at the paid up, first of all it is a listed company, no. So it is a XYZ Limited, so public company. So your first paid up capital limit is not fulfilled, okay. Turnover limit also not fulfilled, okay. But if you look at these two, they are crossing 50 crores. So basically if you look at the question here, for the financial year 21-22, based on the information given, XYZ Limited is required to establish an audit committee or form an audit committee. Okay, so that's a quite simple question. Moving on to the next one, 22nd, again here they are questioning you on the threshold limit. Again here they are questioning you on the threshold limit only. So S Private Limited has a paid up share capital of 29 crores and borrowings from the bank 99 crores. The audit firm P & Company was appointed as a statutory auditor of the company for one term of 5 consecutive years. Whether the provision of the rotation of the auditor is applicable to the company, comment. So here they are testing on applicability of the rotation of auditors. So here also we know we have a threshold limit to be followed. If the threshold limit has been fulfilled, then you will understand if rotation is applicable or not. Based on that, can you appoint a particular auditor for 5 years or not? Okay. So let us take the applicability of rotation. So first of all, obviously to all listed companies it is applicable. Then when it comes to companies, other class of companies obviously will not include small company and OPCs. So there you will have first unlisted public companies, the paid up capital 10 crore or more, private company, paid up capital 50 crore or more. If you don't fulfill these two, but you have public borrowings, deposits, etc., that is outstanding for an amount of 50 crore or more, then rotation will become applicable. Okay. So now let's see which category this company is falling in. First of all, it's a private company, but the paid up capital is 49 crore, so obviously it is not filling in here. And the borrowing from the bank is 99 crore. So because the borrowings is crossing 50 crore, rotation of auditor will become applicable. And here what the company has done is correct. So they can appoint a firm for one term of 5 years because the provisions of rotations are applicable. Okay, then 23rd, enumerate the circumstances under which the retiring auditor can be reappointed. Okay, so that's quite simple. Retiring auditor can be reappointed first when he is not disqualified. Second, when he has not given a notice in writing of his unwillingness to continue. Third, a special resolution has not been passed. Okay, that the retiring auditor shall not be reappointed. Okay, or maybe some other auditor has to be appointed in his place. And suppose in a particular general meeting, if no auditor has been appointed, then that auditor only will continue. So this is quite simple. Okay, that where he can be reappointed. Then comes to chapter 11 about audit report. Mention the examples of circumstances where auditor may consider it necessary to include an emphasis of matter paragraph. So when we talk about SA 706, there are some items which are clearly given in the standard only that there are areas where emphasis of matter could be included. What is emphasis of matter? Very simple. It is that particular matter which the auditor's understanding believes it has to be introduced or it has to be seeking the attention of the users. He believes it to be fundamental to the user's understanding of the financial statements. So they talk about maybe some kind of contingent, maybe some kind of catastrophe or a natural calamity, the impact of which has still been continued. Okay, about some kind of subsequent events. Okay, then you could also have some kind of uncertainties. Okay, the impact of which is still continuing one. So in 706, we could have the inclusions of the matters like the subsequent events which have happened occurred after the balance sheet date but before the date of the auditor's report. Then there could be major catastrophe which is having an impact even today, okay, which is having a continuing impact on the financial statements or on the entity. Then there could be a possibility of uncertainty relating to an outcome of a litigation. Okay, so that also could be considered as EOM. Sometimes early application of an accounting standard if permissible, which is having a material impact on the financial statements. So that also could be included as a part of emphasis of matter paragraph, and these are quite simple, very clearly given in the content itself, in the standard itself. Then while drafting the auditor's report of LK Limited, what are the matters to be included by the auditor in the opinion section paragraph? Now this is quite simple, a straightforward question. SA 700 where you give the identity of the entity, then you give about the statement that you have audited, state that the financial statements are audited, then you give the identity of each element of the financial statement, give a reference to the summary of the accounting policies and all the explanatory notes, that is the notes to accounts basically, and obviously the period covered. So all of this is what we include in the opinion section. So that's very simple. Okay, then come to chapter 12, bank audit. Question number 26, that is C.A. Puranjay is appointed as a statutory auditor of 2 branches of a nationalized bank for the year 21-22. During the course of audit, he came across the following. A. While verifying advances of one semi-urban branch, he noticed substantial number of accounts categorized as SMA. In this context, explain the nature and the significance of SMA. SMA are special mention accounts. These are basically not NPAs. They are those accounts which are having a warranty signal that they could turn into NPA. So that is their feature. So basically the management, that is the bank, is required to identify such kind of SMAs and take remedial actions or preventive actions so that they are prevented from turning into NPA. So that is the meaning of the word SMA. Nature and significance. It is only because you are taking preventive actions, or you could take remedial actions from them getting converted into NPA. Okay, so they are not bad, they are not having any problem, but they are having some kind of signaling effects which are telling they could turn bad. Okay, so those are called as SMAs. So that you could mention. While verifying interest income of a mid-corporate branch of an urban center having advances consist of only cash credit limits for large borrowers, it was noticed that advances of 300 crores were outstanding as on the balance sheet date, carrying average interest rate at the rate of 8% per annum. One articled clerk in the audit team makes a quick back of the envelope calculation of interest income of 24 crore on advances. However, schedule of profit and loss account shows interest income on advance for 10 crores. Discuss any two probable reasons for such variation. Okay, so here what has happened is, it is shown as 24 crores, okay, but the schedule of profit and loss account shows interest income on the advances as 10 crore. So there has been a difference, because if you see 300 crores into 8% should amount to 24 crore, but the P&L account is showing 10 crore. What is the reason for these kind of differences? Okay, so let us understand what could be the difference. So if you understand here, they are telling that 8% was the interest rate to be calculated. But the reason that in the P&L account there is 10 crore, but there has to be an approximation of 24 crore which they are analyzing. The reason could be that cash credit by the very nature is what? That whenever you withdraw, there is going to be the interest calculated on it. So there could be a possibility that the withdrawal has not happened, or maybe you have not utilized the cash credit throughout the year uniformly, or not used it at every point of time. So that could be one of the reasons for the lower income. Second, there could be a possibility that this limit or a larger part of the credit was utilized at the later part of the year. So later part of the year, as in the interest rate calculation is going to be less, because lesser number of months, right? So the amount of interest computation is going to be lower. So because of which there is going to be a difference like this. So that is quite acceptable. Alright, then. See, cash credit, the very fundamental understanding is what? How much you withdraw, it's going to be a continuous account, a business account, whereas when you're going to utilize it, interest is going to be charged. So there is going to be a possibility that the utilization has not happened. So obviously there is no interest on it, correct? And there could be also one more possibility that during the year, maybe at the end of the year, larger portion of the credit has been utilized. So because of which, if you count the number of months, the interest calculation is going to be lesser, correct? So because of that, these could be two reasons because of which there is a variation. Alright, then. 27th, in carrying out the audit of advances, the auditor is primarily concerned with obtaining evidences about the amounts included in the balance sheet in respect of advance which are outstanding. Explain stating clearly the consideration in this context. Understand in the banks, one of the most important asset is going to be the advances. So when you're going to perform the audit of the bank, checking of advances becomes very, very important. So when you look into advances, you have to be very particular about the valuation. You have to be very clear about checking the completeness. That means no advances have been omitted. All have been taken into consideration. There has been appropriate calculation. All the outstanding figures have been taken into account. All the supporting documentation, terms, conditions have to be checked by the auditor. Only then you will be able to decide whether advances reflected in the balance sheet are correct or not. Okay. So for this, you could go through the suggested answers where multiple points are given. So that would give a clear understanding of it. Then comes to the last point, which is one of the most interesting topics of intermediate. That is audit of different types of entities. So here the question is about the 28th A1 is you have been appointed as the auditor of ABC Hotel, a 3-star hotel, for the financial year 21-22. As an auditor, what are the special points that need to be considered in verifying the inventories in the nature of food and beverage? So food and beverage, one of the areas where there could be a possibility of manipulation, fraud possible. It's an element which is fraud risk, okay, because the movement is going to be very fast and your control has to be very strong and you have to properly check whether the movement, that is issue, and all of that is happening properly or not, okay. So we'll look into the answer now and check what are the appropriate things which the auditor has to take into consideration. Next, Cine Screen Multiplex Limited is operating cinemas in different locations in Mumbai and has appointed you as the internal auditor. What are the areas that need to be verified in relation to the sale of tickets? Okay, tickets control has to be checked first of all. They should be serially numbered. Duplication of tickets should not happen. Proper authorization of the issue of the ticket. Okay, there has to be proper accounting. You have to check whether corresponding entries in the cash book, okay, and that of the receipt, the actual receipt on the tickets are matching. So these are all the things that you take into account. So this you can quickly go through the pointers so that you'll be able to recapture and understand how you have to ensure that there is a proper tallying, reconciling of the information when it comes to sale of tickets. Nevertheless, we'll have a quick reading of this so that you get an understanding or an insight of what is required. Okay. So let us look at the suggested answer of question 28. Alright. So first one we have about the ABC Hotel. Okay. In the hotel, if you see, they are writing the inventories in any hotel are both readily portable and saleable, particularly food and beverages. It is therefore extremely important that all the movements and the transfers of such inventories should be properly documented to enable control to be exercised. Okay. Now, here what the auditor will consider, all the movement and transfer of inventory must be properly documented, correct. The store's ledger has to be maintained correctly. Areas where inventories are kept must be kept locked and key retained by the departmental manager because theft possible. The key should be realized only to the trusted personnel, and unauthorized person should not be permitted in the store's area. Many hotels use specialized professional valuers to count and value the inventories on continuous basis throughout the year. The auditor should ensure that all the inventories are valued at the year end, and he should himself be present at the year end physical verification to extent practicable, having regard to the materiality consideration and nature and location of the inventories. Okay. So this is what the auditor will do with respect to the inventory checking of food and beverages, because in the hotels it is one of the areas where there is a scope for manipulation and very important item to be checked. Okay. So physical verification of this, you have to be present. Make yourself as far as possible to be present on the day of physical verification conducted. Alright. Then about cinemas, as I told you, verify the entrance of the cinema hall by showing the tickets. See, what I would give a suggestion to the students is that whenever you write an answer for the special audit, imagine yourself in the position of that. Like imagine yourself to be going to a cinema to watch the movie. So what all you are doing, okay, as a customer, check whether the entire process has been cross-verified by somebody or not. So here if you see entrance, always you get through what? You have to show the ticket, only then you get the entrance. Then all your tickets are serially numbered, okay. Then verify that the number of tickets issued to each show and the class and different numbers of the same class on the same day, same week run serially, okay. Each week run serially. Verify that for advance booking a separate series of tickets are issued, yes. Verify that inventory of ticket is kept in the custody of responsible official, obviously. Confirm that the end of the show the statement of tickets sold in preparation of cash collected is agreed with. Reconciliation you have to do it. Verify that the record is kept for free passes and these are issued under proper authority. Free passes anybody cannot give, authority is required. Reconcile the amount of entertainment tax collected, very important. So again the last one, always remember, cash book you have to reconcile and see whether all the different tickets issued to different categories have been properly reconciled, okay. So this is what you do with respect to audit of cinema. So with this, basically we have completed the entire discussion of the RTP. Okay, the key pointers here are, if you understand the questions being asked, some are very directly being questioned and some there is a little bit of application. But understand, you can attempt the paper or you could answer the questions in the examination only if there is conceptual clarity. Mugging up the paper of audit will definitely not help, because when you look at the questions are indirectly checking your concepts. And the subject and syllabus is so heavy that mugging up is never going to help you. So it is very important that you actually understand. Very importantly, I would recommend that you practice a writing of few of the answers. And this RTP, the name itself suggests it is revision. So you will do the RTP only if you have finished the studying of the subject. It should be an element of your revision. It should not be the element of your studying, okay? Because the very name clearly suggests. And this, if you understand the way the RTP is designed, is every topic is taken into consideration, which will enable you as a student to understand your level of your preparation. So make the best use of it, and please do not skip the RTP. Please prepare it accordingly. I hope this entire discussion has really helped you. And this academic update, as I told you, no amendments are relevant. I mean, there are no new amendments for you, so that you have to focus on it. But all the questions I've done in detail for you so that you understand, and you will be in a position to understand how the questions have to be written. I've done generally discussion of all of that, but you have to read the questions carefully and also look at the suggested answers so that you get an idea of how the examination answers are expected. Very importantly, in audit, a very important point that you have to understand: do not rush to a conclusion. Do not read the question half and come to a conclusion. Read the question in full, understand what the requirement of the question is, and only then give your answer. Do not hurry up and give the answers. I've given you two examples in the same RTP, where only if you read the question half, you would end up giving a different answer than what is expected. Alright? Do not do that mistake. Avoid doing these kind of mistakes which would actually make you lose marks in the examination. So with this, we close the RTP discussion, and I definitely believe it is going to be helpful to all of you.